No matter where you come from, no matter where you're going, here's a place where you can take comfort in the knowing that whether if you've come to stay a while or just passing through, this door is open to you. Come and let's be silent. Come and share a hug. Come, let's pray together. Come, love and be loved. From the blissed out to the turned out, from the pampered to the abused, this door is open to you. Come on in. Come on in. Come on in. Come on in. The God in us recognizes the God in you. The God in you. Whether you're black or white, gay or straight, Christian, Buddhist or Jew, this door is open to you.
This morning and ask you to turn and to wave. We're going to wave and welcome those that are joining us from around the globe. We give a special welcome to the student that we're sponsoring, our international student Blessing from Africa, who may be joining us right now. So we welcome Blessing and anyone at any time that you're joining us. My name is Darlene Strickland. I'm the senior minister here at Unity of the Blue Ridge, and we want to welcome each and every one of you today as we begin with an opening prayer. I invite you to simply turn your awareness within, and we greet this day together. When our soul says yes, there is a part of us, a dimension of our being, part of our greater reality that is always fully awake and connected, that sees and holds the big picture, that holds the truth of our being, that is our greater identity, that's always connected. We acknowledge that presence and that power as the very essence of our life. And we bring that awareness into our time together as today we begin to explore the power of our commitments. And so we open to the gifts this day, a day filled with many beautiful gifts. We open to the guidance and the grace that are always available. And for this time that we may be blessed and that we may be a greater blessing, we are truly thankful. Thank you, God, and so it is. Amen. I want to invite you to stand as you're able. I'm going to ask Beth to join us, and Sue, I'll introduce her a little bit later, but we're going to kick it off with a song by Daniel Nahmod that says, "My soul is welcome here."
I'm in the right place at the right time. I'm just where I'm supposed to be. I'm in the right place at the right time. I'm just where I'm supposed to be. Oh, my soul is welcome here. Oh, my soul is welcome here. I am getting the message loud and clear. My soul is welcome here. I'm in the right place at the right time. I'm just where I'm supposed to be. I'm in the right place at the right time. I'm just where I'm supposed to be. Oh, my soul is welcome here. Oh, my soul is welcome here. I am getting the message loud and clear. My soul is welcome here. I am getting the message loud and clear. My soul is welcome here.
You are absolutely welcome right here. We invite you to take this opportunity to turn to those around you and extend a welcoming blessing to them. Welcome with a handshake, with an acknowledgement. We reach out to those of you online and again say welcome. Thank you for being here. You're at the right place at the right time. All right, some of you may recognize this old traditional song that goes like this. Glory, glory, hallelujah, since I lay my burdens down. Oh, glory, glory, hallelujah, since I lay my burdens down. I feel better. I feel better. So much better since I laid my burdens down. I feel better. So much better since I laid my burdens down. Play it, Richard Schulman. Yeah, play it, Dave. Yeah, here we go. My days are brighter, so much brighter, since I laid my burdens down. My days are brighter, so much brighter, since I laid my burdens down. You got it, sing it again. My days are brighter, so much brighter since I laid my burdens down. My days are brighter, so much brighter since I laid my burdens down. Last line. Since I laid my burdens down. Yeah. You sound beautiful. Thank you. You may be seated. And most of our band's actually going to head down. We've got a few extra things in the service today. But, you know, when I was singing that song, I thought, how many of you realize that laying your burdens down doesn't happen just once? Or even just once in any 24-hour period. That it's an ongoing process of laying it down and letting it go. We want to welcome you again this morning. If you have not yet turned your cell phones off, we ask that you would turn those off or put it on airplane mode. It helps everyone and our live stream here today. We have a wonderful Sunday school program. It's the first Sunday in a month. Welcome to October. Can you believe that pumpkin spice weather flavors and weather is officially here? So our teens actually stay with us today, but our younger children, all the way through nursery age, are going to be heading to the back to join those that are already there. And we extend this blessing to our youth and to all youth that says together, we love you, we bless you, we appreciate you, and we behold the divinity in you. Have a wonderful group of Sunday school, wonderful time of Sunday school this morning. We'd also like to extend a special welcome to each and every one of you. If this is your first time, if you just simply raise your hand, we have what we call a connections card. If you raise your hand, and Unity folks, if you would lovingly point and help our ushers find them, then we'll extend a connections card to you. A lot of folks are pointing to the second row up here, Dick. If you want to get a workout on Sunday, you can also join this team that's called Find the Hand before it goes down. Whether it's your first time, if it is your first time, there's a heart that you may want to wear that allows us to acknowledge you as a first-time guest. We have a welcoming center just as you come in with information. And whether it's your first time finding us online, we know that you are here because your soul asked you to be here. And so we extend this blessing to each of you that says, we love you, we bless you, we appreciate you, and we behold the divinity in you. There are some exciting things going around. You saw the PowerPoint announcements, but I do want to give acknowledgement to just a few things today. Friday night, this coming Friday, we kick off our anniversary as a spiritual community. We have been here for 74 years. Now, we weren't all personally here that long, but the ministry has been here. And so we celebrate in grand style. We're going to kick it off this Friday night with a concert. We had our rehearsal this week. We had a blast. There's a lot of singers, musicians. It's a lot of fun. Joel, he's not a typical bass player, but our band bass player, we have a guest today that I forgot to mention. Would you welcome Bob Songster, who is joining us on bass today? I asked Bob, was his last name really Songster? He's a musician and I believe a singer too. And he said yes. And I said, you're lucky. The universe gave you a clue about your path in life. Friday night, if you don't have your tickets, please get your ticket. But you can also get them at the door. Friday night, 7 o'clock. Come out for a wonderful concert. And then Saturday, Reverend Paulette Pipe, who is just a delight, part of our Unity ministry. She used to head Silent Unity, the prayer ministry in the United Kingdom. She has a presence, a voice, a way of conveying information that you're not going to want to miss. That's this Saturday, next Saturday morning, and then later in the afternoon, our very own Sharon Oxendine, board member, who's also an elder in the Lumbee tribe, is going to be sharing some information. So you can get those tickets or show up that day. We do have, there is a suggested offering attached. However, we have plenty of scholarships. So anyone that wants to come, please do come. And then next Sunday, we'll have a fabulous service. Our brand new choir of 30 plus people is going to be singing here. Yeah. Next Sunday, I've intentionally been getting out to not hear them, so I'll probably be a blubbering mess when I hear it next Sunday. It just moves my heart so much. And then we're going to have dinner on the grounds. We have a caterer coming in to feed us, and so you don't want to miss next weekend. Truly, I invite you to be here. There's also one other thing that I want to acknowledge today. I'd like to invite someone to come up to join me. Two people, actually. Beth, would you bring the items over? And Joe Wegner. Joe Wegner, would you please come on up? Many of you will recognize this man because he has been here, I don't even know how many years he's actually been a part of the community. Joe in his 74 years, maybe. This is Father, Unity of the Blue Ridge. Joe is one of our board members, but he does so much around here. For the long time I've known Joe, I've known him now for about 9 years, and he's the definition. He probably wouldn't want me to tell people, but he's a definition of a giant teddy bear. This is what our giant teddy bear looks like. An amazing guy. Joe, I wrote something so I wouldn't miss anything. So the reason Joe is here today, for the past 15 to 20 years, he has been faithfully showing up at church all spring, summer, and fall when the grass needed to be mowed. He spent about 6-7 hours a week mowing the lawn because he could because it was his calling. As a matter of fact, if you'll go to the next slide, there's actually, unless you've already passed it, did you go to that one first? There's actually a sign that says Joe Wagner Way, because he has mowed that for year after year after year. And then about 15 years ago, he stepped up to lead a team that we call Habitat for Unity, Team Habitat for Unity. Any of you homeowners, if you own a home, even if you rent, you know there's always something that needs attention. Joe has always been that person, and he has led a group of people to do that. And I said, Joe, not only have you given countless hours over the many years to mowing, trimming, fixing, figuring it out, roof patching, putting up walls, taking down same said wall. That I asked for and then asked to come down. Putting up lattice fencing because the insurance company said we had to, but we really didn't want to. Rearranged, packed up, cleared out, painted, plumbed, made lights work, repeating as necessary, just to name a few. I said, over the past few years, Joe, I've had many people tell me that what you do for Team Habitat Unity Leader goes far beyond mending fences and organizing workers. You've been mending hearts and helping people feel a sense of belonging every step of the way. And that, my friend, is miracle work. That's what he's been doing. So I need the stick under the chair. So Joe is going to retire from the leadership of that team, and in just a moment we'll acknowledge the co-leader, but he's going to step down as the leader of that team. He'll still be here. But Joe, I know that every day you go out walking, and so we're going to trade your mower keys for a walking stick. And then all of those, Beth. Come on with all of them, if you will. And then I've asked you to, he goes out to the Carl Sandburg location and walks away pretty much every day. You're also trading in the tool belt, and we're giving you a fishing belt in place of that. Chris Walsh, come on up. A few years ago, Joe attracted a co-leader of the team, and that is Chris Walsh. Chris decided it was time for her to retire and sell the farm and move. They've moved to South Carolina by a lake, and so you just traded in your tool belt for a fishing belt as well. And not only have they done this over the years, but they did it through, we kicked off a $650,000 capital campaign about 2 weeks before COVID closed the church for a year. And I want to tell you, congregation, that today we have less than $10,000 left to pay it off. You've come through with shining stars. Part of us being able to keep it to the cost we did is because people painted and they did things themselves, and it was during that time that Joe and Chris really came together and led a group of people to do as much as we possibly could. So Joe, I promised I wouldn't put a microphone in his hand, but he actually said he would like to share a few words with his team. So Joe Wagner.
Thank you, Darlene. It's good to know that a lady like you really can tell it like it is. I would like to introduce a few of my very good friends. Charlie and Suzanne, would you please stand up?
If you notice, they're wearing their Team Habitat shirts today.
Fred, would you stand up? Leslie, would you stand up? Gail, would you stand up? Mark, would you stand up?
Linda.
The other Fred.
Linda.
Linda. Sonny. Dick in the back there. Who else? Who did I miss? Anybody who had been here on the second or the fourth Friday of the month, doing their thing. Would you please stand up?
Those of you that have helped and have helped at the Labyrinth,
Yeah.
please stand up and let us
The
acknowledge you.
Labyrinth also, yeah. Folks, this group of really wonderful people are really the ones that get things done around here. We change the light bulbs. They change the light bulbs.
And look how high they are.
They actually get down in the ditches and replace drain lines. They get up on the roof. And all those other things that Darlene alluded to, these are the folks that do it. Could I please ask you to put your, I missed one guy.
Jim Reed.
One other individual I need to recognize, the young lady in the back there who has been behind the scenes, but she has been diligent in writing all the letters, organizing the get-togethers, making sure I keep a steady stream. I'm very proud to introduce my wife, Judy.
Yeah, Judy.
Thank you, folks. It's been a real pleasure working with these people, and I thoroughly enjoyed it, and I hate to go, but time moves on.
So to Joe and to the entire team, we love you, we bless you, we appreciate you, and we behold the divinity in you. Thank you so much, truly, Joe. Thank you so much. I love you. All right, we'll trade some things. Joe, we truly appreciate you. When my partner and I arrived here about 9 years ago, she was afraid of Joe. She looked at him and said, he looked really, really serious. And she's the one that eventually said, but you know what? He's a giant teddy bear. Today, we're going to be kicking off our fall book study series. There's still time for you to sign up. The book I've selected, have been guided to this year, is by Lynn Twist. It's titled Living a Committed Life. We'll be using parts of this each week for the next 7 weeks to guide us into an exploration. And if you've been around here long, you know that we go deep and wide, that we use this, but we'll be incorporating a lot of other things as well. I do today want to introduce you to the author, Lynn Twist. We have a video that'll take just a few minutes, and I think it's just worth our time together to take a few minutes to learn a little bit about what inspired this work so that you may recognize what may be coming up in you. Nova, would you show us this video?
My name is Lynn Twist, and I'm an author, a consultant, a coach, a speaker. But who I really, really am is what I call a pro-activist. I say pro-activist because I'm an activist for, not against. I'm engaged in world issues and ending world hunger, preserving a natural world, working with indigenous peoples of the Amazon, empowering women. And this word pro-activist really also describes what I call living a committed life, which is a book I just finished writing, and really is the story of finding my own most profound commitment to life and living from there. And I started this whole project of this book because of a friend named Jack Canfield, who wrote Chicken Soup for the Soul. He sold hundreds and hundreds of millions of books. He's one of the best storytellers in the world. And he's a friend of mine, and he knows, he's been to the Ecuadorian Amazon with me. We've traveled to Africa together. He knows that I've had experiences with Mother Teresa, with Desmond Tutu, with Nelson Mandela, with Jane Goodall, that I've had a life that You couldn't dream up the kind of experiences I've had. And he told me one day, you have got to write a book of stories about your life. And just come to my house. I'll get a group of 20 or 30 really wonderful people and take 3 days. And I'm just going to interview you. And you tell me story after story after story after story after story. And we'll record it, we'll videotape it, we'll transcribe it. And that's the beginning of a book. And so I did that. And thank God for Jack Canfield, because this is my life. And each story is so precious to me that it's sometimes I get started telling one story and I can't stop. It goes for, 20, 30, 40, 50 minutes. But when I actually told story after story after story in Jack's living room, I cried, people cried, we laughed, people laughed. And I realized, my God, what a life I've been given. I never could have planned it. I was raised as a Catholic. I would have done anything to meet or sit at the feet of Mother Teresa. Yet it was through the commitment that I made to end world hunger that I found myself at her feet. It was through the commitment I've made to an environmentally sustainable, spiritually fulfilling, socially just human presence on this planet that I found myself working with shamans and elders in the Amazon rainforest, in the most biodiverse, important, ancient, most precious ecosystem on this planet. So it is through living my commitments, not my wants, but my dreams for the world, that I have found myself in the company of giants. And some of those people are people that you and I wouldn't even know their names, like the women in Ethiopia who survived the 1984-1985 famine. These are women, 5 mothers, who lost every single one of their children to starvation, and yet they were still alive. One woman lost 11 children to starvation, and she was still alive. And I sat with her and 4 other women who lost every single one of their children to starvations in that famine. And we named and told the story, each mother did, of the life and death of each one of their children, one by one. And when we were done with Malaika, her life of 2 years, and how she died walking towards a mirage, thinking it was water, and dropped dead, trying to take the next step. Or Mohammed, who was only a month old and died at her mother's breast because her mother had no milk left after having no water for 7 days. These stories, after the women told about each one of these children, we would cry, we would wail, we would keen, we would scream, we would hold each other until we had honored the deep and profound grief of the loss of that child. Then we would take a break and the mother would talk about the next child. This is an experience that I had, that I went through with my heart, with my soul, with my guts. I don't know how I could have ever designed a deeper or more profound experience of what it means to be a mother. I'm a mother myself. But that experience in Ethiopia changed my life forever and gave me a kind of depth of being, of knowing, of humanity, and of a capacity to love that have served my commitments in a way that I have lived what I'm calling, what I've named, and what I've written about, a committed life. My book, Living a Committed Life, tells these stories in as deep and profound a way as I possibly can. And the point of the book is to let people know that if you live a committed life, it gives you freedom and fulfillment in a way that you couldn't have imagined. It is a life that's dedicated to something larger than yourself. And in that commitment, you are free from your wants, your desires, your upsets, your fears. You become the instrument of something larger than yourself. And in that incredible gift, you have freedom, fulfillment, and an experience of unconditional love for the world and from the world. So I'm proud of my book. I'm proud of my life, and I hope you read it. Thank you.
Good morning. Good morning.
An ordinary day, in an ordinary life, there's beauty all around me. Sometimes all I see is black and white. Just going through the motions, life just passing by. I'm drifting in a daydream, wishing I'd wake up from this emptiness inside. But there are moments when magic happens unexpectedly. There are moments, precious moments, when the wonder of this world is all I see. The first breath of the morning, whispers in my ear. She says, you've got it all inside you. Will you know it in your heart when it appears? For there are moments when magic happens unexpectedly. There are moments, precious moments, when the wonder of the world is all I see. This dance of possibilities to the rhythm of my destiny won't let me slip into my old routines. 'Cause there are moments when magic happens unexpectedly. There are moments, precious moments, when the wonder of this world is all I see. There are moments
Sue Riley, that is absolutely beautiful. So today we're talking about living a committed life, and when you're committed to a higher purpose, how things begin to line up. So I'd have to go back and look at the email, but it was several months ago when Sue told me she was going to be in this area and said, I'd love to come and be your music guest. I said, absolutely perfect. Who could have known that it would have lined up with today and that that song would have lined up as it did? Sue Riley serves on the board of our Unity Worldwide Ministries headquarters. And I asked Sue, she grew up in Indiana, started playing and singing at 13 years old. She grew up Catholic, started playing in the church, and as she got a little older, she heard that there were churches where you could go and they would actually pay you to sing. And so she wound up in a Christian Science church. Very different. She said it was very different, but it paid. And then as she moved from Indiana to Florida, she has made her entire living, her whole life as a singer, songwriter, musician. She said in Florida, she was traveling, singing different places, and a person said, hey, I wish you'd come to my Unity church and sing. And remember, she's still Catholic. And she did. And she said, quite frankly, I thought it was a cult, but it paid. So she kept going. And she kept going, and she kept going. And she said, how many times can you sing Climb Every Mountain? That she realized she needed to write some songs, and she said she thought, well, how difficult could that be? But you see, the universe is always taking your gifts and your passions and pulling you into your own awakening. Because in order to begin writing songs, she had to really get inside of the beliefs and what she believed and the languaging and the wording and what are we really saying here and how does that differentiate. And she began to write and she met other writers and she would eventually go on to found Empower Music, and today she has co-led with Richard McDeesey an Empower Music program. What's the name of it? I can't think of it right now. Empower Music Festival. 19 years. They've been having a New Thought Music Festival. Yeah. And so that's her original song. Today she sings and she's one of the writers, but she also coordinates so that we actually have a license and get to use this music from Eddie Watkins Jr. and all of that. And little did she know that her path would have started and literally brought her here today. Would you welcome Sue Riley? And as the universe would have it, her boyfriend lives in South Carolina, so rumor has it she's going to be moving very close very soon. We're looking forward to that. So just a few minutes today about living a committed life. Today we want to lay down some ideas to really start us thinking. And over the next 6 weeks, we're going to dig into the how and to what does that really mean to you. The word commitment honestly does bring up a lot of things for a lot of people. And a lot of that has to do with the fact that many of us were asked to make commitments or to pledge our allegiance to things that we really didn't believe in. And some people feel like if I make a commitment, then I narrow my choices. Well, we're talking about making a quality of commitment that is about who you become in the process. And that's not a little thing. And so we're going to be talking about what it is to make a commitment to living a committed life to a purpose that is larger than yourself and who you become in that process. Because if you really think about it, when you make a commitment, especially to something larger to yourself, what happens is you begin to discover what you're made of. Sue said, when I started writing songs and working with other people, I had to grow strong shoulders because some people liked it, some people didn't. Has anybody ever stepped forward in leadership and you get a lot of unsolicited advice? A lot of, why don't you do it this way or do it that way, or I don't like this or I don't like that. You're growing. It's helping you grow and be able to stand in the wind of all of that and use it to further clarify what you believe in your stand, and hopefully cultivate flexibility and compassion in the process. When we make a commitment to something larger than ourselves, it helps us discover what we're made of, and we are made of nothing less than what we call God. When we make a commitment to a purpose that's larger than ourselves, we discover that we are part of infinity and beyond, as Buzz Lightyear would say. We're part of it all. And there's this synchronicity that begins to happen, and flow and support and guidance. Many of you have told me stories, and we'll be sharing some of those stories. I've had many my own self of where you get guidance, you get nudges, and it's either desperation or inspiration, and they're really just two sides of one coin, quite often called your soul's calling. Whichever flavor it may show up, it's guiding you to become. Living a committed life to a purpose larger than ourselves also helps us really tune into what we're made for. And that is love, because God is love. We're created to be that right here and right now. And when you live for a purpose that's larger than your life, you create a new context for your life. And you create a new context for yourself. You discover who you really are. The author Lynn Twist says in the book, committing oneself to an inspiring cause is what forges you into a great human being. We could say it's what actualizes your potential. She said it's the commitment that shapes you into who you need to be to fulfill what you are created to be. She goes on to say, commitment is more powerful than anything. I don't really understand it actually, but I see it over and over and over again, how it creates miracles for the world and the person who is brave enough to make the commitment. I commit are really more than words. It's an act, and it activates your free will, which is your creative power. I commit activates your creative capabilities, your creative power, and it activates heaven and earth, we could say, all creation to begin to work with us. That's why she quotes W.H. Murray at the beginning of the book, and he says, until one is committed, there is hesitancy, the chance to draw back, always ineffectiveness. Concerning all acts of initiative and creation, there's one elementary truth, the ignorance of which kills countless ideas and splendid plans, that the moment one definitely commits oneself, then providence moves in too. All sorts of things occur to help one that would never have occurred otherwise. A whole stream of events begin to issue from the decision, raising in favor of one's all manner of unforeseen incidents and meetings, the material assistance, which we could have never dreamed would happen or would have come our way. And so he's learned that the power of when we commit, it's as if all providence, to use his language, heaven and earth begins to rush in to support that. In Unity, we have a good example, the co-founders, a couple called Charles and Myrtle Fillmore in the late 1800s. Minding their own business, doing the best they could, living out in the Midwest. But Myrtle Fillmore had been sick off and on her whole life. As a matter of fact, a lot of the women in her family had not had the best health. She was at a stage in her life, she was married, she had 3 boys, and she had a diagnosis of tuberculosis. Now, in the late 1800s, that was typically the ending of one's life. And she wasn't doing well. As a matter of fact, the doctors said she only had a few months to live. She was very sick. As a mother of 3 young boys, of course, she was desperate to do anything to figure out how to heal herself and move beyond this. And Providence moves in, and someone says, hey, go hear this person coming through town. I have a feel you may get something. Something inspired her to get herself up, and she and her husband went, and they heard a man by the name of Dr. E.B. Weeks. He came from the Chicago School of Metaphysics. He was traveling through giving lectures. And in the course of his lecture, he said, you're all children of God, and you inherit the life of God. You don't inherit sickness. And she said, every chill bumps stood up all over. Something in her, it's like her soul leaped up and said, yes, I'm a child of God. I inherit the life of God. I didn't have to inherit what my family says I may. And it shook her to such an extent, she made a commitment to that idea. She went back and she began to work with that idea, which led her to pray for herself, which led her into what she called affirmations. She learned how to affirm for herself the truth that is already true, not affirming it, trying to make it true. An affirmation is true, and we affirm it so that we can establish it in our consciousness. She would say, I am an expression of God. I am created by the life of God. The one Spirit is the Spirit of my life. The Holy Spirit is capable of healing, and I am open to that healing. And therefore, I release and let go of any other. She then began to, there's affirmations and denials. She began to release the things the stories that she had invested in. It didn't happen overnight. But she began to have synchronistic things happen, different things happen. And over the course of 18 months, she was completely healed. She lived to be in her late 80s and went on, if you'll show me this slide, a few years later, she and her husband, Charles Fillmore, literally sat down and they wrote this. It's signed December 7th, 1892. And they said, we, Charles Fillmore and Myrtle Fillmore, husband and wife, hereby dedicate ourselves, our time, our money, all we have and expect to have, to the Spirit of truth, and through it to the Society of Silent Unity. That was, at the time, that was the ministry that Unity was creating. She was healed in prayer, and that was her way of praying with others. And today, some 200 years later, we still have a Silent Unity prayer ministry. You see, she never could have foreseen how many people would be blessed. They never anticipated folks finding this probably. They never even wanted people to know where they were going to be buried. They didn't want people to turn them into gods or saviors. They wanted people to maybe learn from them, but keep going, keep learning. But the value of making a commitment is really what we are talking about today. I want to share with you a very personal example of how in my life, how I have truly seen that when you make a commitment, all providence does move in. And it's always moving in to help you discover what you're made of. What do you believe is possible? What do you believe is available to you? How connected do you feel? How compassionate do you feel? Do you know yourself as the light of God and love? Are you showing up as that? Or is there still ways that you're being called to outgrow the shell and release the splendor of your spirit? I discovered Unity back in the mid-90s. At the time, I was living in Raleigh, North Carolina. My job required me to travel extensively, so I literally moved to Raleigh to be near the airport. But I was home most weekends. I was there one weekend, and a friend stopped by and invited me to this Unity church. Now, I had grown up Pentecostal. It served me well. I loved a lot of it, but like many of you, I reached a point in my life where I began to question the theology. I began to question certain things, and my personal experiences were of such that the belief system I had, the hand-me-down, how many of you know what a hand-me-down spiritual belief system is? Those hand-me-down beliefs were no longer working, and so I was just free flow. I'm going to leave it all, and the universe had really become my teacher. Someone invited me to a Unity church, and I went, and I was quite blown away. I couldn't believe there were a group of people that was talking about the truths that I was already arriving at. I was usually home on weekends, and it happened that there were two churches in Raleigh. There's Unity of Raleigh and Unity of the Triangle. So I was so drawn to this, I went to one at 9 a.m. and one to 11. I just couldn't believe what I was hearing. And I had only been going for probably 3 or 4 months when I heard about this place called Unity Village, the headquarters, the mothership. And I wasn't quite convinced yet if it was a cult or exactly what it was, or if I was safe there, or if I still just needed to be done with any religion. So I decided I'm going to go out. I took 2 weeks vacation and flew to Unity Village, Missouri. I signed up for a bunch of classes at the time. I thought I'll go and I'll immerse myself, and then I'll know really if this is a path for me, because it was pulling me. While I was there, one thing in particular spoke to me. I heard good music from people like Sue and Daniel Namod and some others. And at the two churches at the time in North Carolina where I were attending, they were singing out of a hymnal and the songs weren't really good. And remember I said I grew up Pentecostal. We had lively music. I grew up in a family that all could sing and harmonize. And so when I went to church, my spirit was a little dry. You know, I didn't get that soulful, uplifting music that I wanted. Well, when I was at Unity Village, a lot of people were saying, oh, look, here's a CD. We have a gospel choir at our church. We have this, we have that. And the person said, well, maybe you could do something about it. A few days later, another person told me about theirs, and they said, maybe you could do something about it. And yet again, the next week, somebody said, maybe you could do something about it. And bing, a light went off. I thought, that's interesting. 3 people said the exact same thing. What do you think that means? So it changed my life those 2 weeks. I flew home on a Saturday. I slept in a little bit that next Sunday, and I only went to the 11 o'clock church. Unity of the Triangle. I walked in, they handed me a bulletin. I sat down, I opened it up, and there was one of those inserts. It said, music director wanted. My heart was like this. I'm like, oh my God, I cannot believe this. But I worked full time, and I played alto saxophone in junior high school. This is not going to be good. I could not lead those people. I can't accompany, and I can't. They sing those. I just can't. But it wouldn't let me go, and so I didn't hear anything the minister heard that Sunday. The next morning in prayer, I happened to be in town that Monday. My next Monday morning in prayer, still on my mind, I said, Holy Spirit, if there's something I can do, if it's something for me to do, then I need a clear sign. While I'm out and about today in Raleigh, let me run into the minister, the choir director, or the board president, and then I'll know. I need a clear sign. Because I had seen them up on stage. I had been hanging out in the back near the door. I know who you are over there. It's like, I got an exit plan. But I recognized them, and I'm like, I got to see something. So I kid you not. Later that day, I was in Sam's Wholesale Club. I'm checking out, and I look, and standing at the end, holding an ink cartridge, waiting, was Mary Mooney, the board president. I'm like, oh, my God. I ran over, and I don't even remember what I said to her. I just hugged her, and I was a crying mess. I couldn't believe. I was like, wow, that's a real miracle. What do you do with that? So I got home. There was still time. I called the church. It's on a Monday. Most churches are closed on Monday. But Barry Vennard, Reverend Barry Vennard, the minister, picked up himself. He happened to be there. I said, you don't know me. I've been coming for a while. I've been hanging out back. I went to Unity Village, blah, blah, blah. I saw this thing in the bulletin. And I can't do it, but if there's anything I can help you with, just know that you can count me in. He said, can you come to the church right now? I said, I could. He said, come on over here. So I got in my car, and I went there, and I went to his office, and again, he welcomed me. I told him a little bit about how I'd been going to both churches. I just come back from Unity Village, saw that. I clearly explained, I said, I don't play the piano. All these things you said you need, I can't do that. But because I was just talking about music, if there's anything I can do. He got up, walked across the room, put his hand on my shoulder and said, congratulations, you're our new music director. I said, what part of that did you not hear? I can't do that. And he just stood there and looked at me and said, this has got a God job written all over it, and I'm not about to get in the way of this one. And I got in my car, and I'm going to tell you exactly what I said. Oh, shit. I did. I'm like, what have I done? If you've heard of buyer's remorse, you should hear if I signed up for music director remorse. It was bad. It was bad. I'm like, I'm just such a fraud. I cannot, there's no way I can do that. I was a nervous wreck. I started looking and thinking, maybe I can sign up for piano lessons. Like I was going to learn enough between now, He said, we will get an accompanist. You just do what you're going to do. So I went in and I had to transpose all the music and make it more singable. I know where I get moved by great singers, and that's usually in a nightclub. Those people that have been to hell and back and lived through it and have a soulful song that comes through them. So I went out and found folks and put together quartets, and something began to happen. The greatest thing that began to happen was who I was becoming in the process. My greatest fear was, what if one Sunday the accompanist doesn't show up and there I'm standing in front of all those people, just me? So do you think that happened? Of course it happened. It was my greatest fear. Only like 3 months in, we had to sing everything a cappella, but this is what I learned. When you hold a vision, you see, I'm passionate about music. I'm passionate about bringing people into an experience of what I call worship or celebration. Music allows you to emote and connect in ways that it's like a prayer prayed twice. When you hold a vision for something that's yours to hold and you do your honest best, people and resources begin to show up. The Sunday that we had to sing everything a cappella was some of the most beautiful music in the house. People appreciated rising to the occasion. It was nothing less than remarkable what began to happen. Now, little did I know that first 2 weeks I went to Unity Village and took those classes. Somehow or another on my application was checked ministerial path. So every class I had ever taken, I was on a path to becoming a minister. Years later, when I would be guided, 2 years later, when I would be guided clearly to go into the ministry to answer the call, they said, well, you need to have been working with a church for 2 years. How long have you been music director? Well, exactly 2 years to the date. There's no way I could have orchestrated that. Now, let's jump ahead to 2019. I've lived with that story. I've known it. 2019, my home church, Unity of the Triangle, Raleigh, North Carolina. They called and said, Reverend Darlene, will you come speak? We're having a big anniversary Sunday. And so while I was there, I felt guided to tell them this story. They were part of my journey. And at the end of the service, the same lady that I had met at the end of the row, her name is Mary Mooney. She was still there at that church. When I told the story to them, and I said, I don't even remember what I said. She said, I do. She said, you ran up to me and said, you're a miracle, you're a sign. I said, did you think I was crazy? She said, no, but I knew you were having a moment. I'm going to be seeing her next week at a regional conference, but you never, ever, ever know. Sue, would you please come give me that song? Today is a day of stories. You're going to hear one more in just a moment from Jessica Ayala. Jessica, if you want to come up and take a yellow chair. Before she shares a brief story, I want to lead us into a time of meditative prayer. We're going to be embarking on a series where we think about the commitments in our life. And what is it that's uniquely calling you and helping you uncover what are your callings and what is your commitment?
There are moments where magic happens unexpectedly. There are moments, precious moments, where the wonder of this world is all I see.
I invite you to close your eyes and to just let your shoulders relax a little more. And to feel yourself sit a little more upright with the strength of your own being. Everybody is a part of this creation because you carry a seed, a divine seed. In Unity we call it the Christ, but you carry a blueprint for your own becoming, just like an acorn is a blueprint for becoming the oak. You carry within you a blueprint for your own becoming. You need not look left or right or up or down or ask this one or that one, because it's already within you. And that blueprint is guiding you. It's naturally unfolding you. It's showing up through your development, your self-mastery, your self-realization, and your self-expressing. A divine blueprint is who you're called to be. And so when you commit to a purpose that's larger than survival, that's larger than the day-to-day cares of life, that's larger than being caught up in so much drama that you never get off the landing strip. When you commit and reach out to what uniquely sparks your soul, then you are aligning with the divine idea of your own being. And you have just established a gateway for the universe to cooperate and work with you, to give you opportunity, to develop your roots and your wings, to create places where you will fly and soar and share your colors like no other on this earth can do. And you need not compare the size of what you are committed to another. You only need make sure that it's your role in alignment with your soul, and therein lies your self-fulfillment. May we pause this week and notice, what are the things that speak to us and call us? What are we really passionate for? What are our gifts that we would love to share in this world? And as we begin to make space for that within our own self, we begin to surrender ourselves and offer ourselves to be the way. May I be the way that fulfills this vision. And in the process, may I become all that I'm created to become.
First breath of the morning whispers in my ear, she says, you've got it all inside you. Well, you know it in your heart when it appears. For there are moments, when magic happens unexpectedly. There are moments, precious moments, where the wonder of this world is all I see. This dance of possibilities to the rhythm of my destiny won't let me slip into that old routine. There are moments where magic happens unexpectedly. There are moments, precious moments, where the wonder of this world is all I see. There are moments
Riley. Thank you so much, Sue. Wow.
Hi. Hi. So I am here today to share my experience being a recipient of what Unity of the Blue Ridge calls Keepers of the Light. So I have two very special experiences to share. The first is that I was introduced to Unity at around the age of 11, and I know that that is when my soul committed to unfolding without even really realizing it. When I was about 13, the building that we had our church was located in, was no longer our building. I don't remember the details of it. I just remember that we had to pivot. We were no longer able to have service at that building, so we had to move around. And so we had service in a community center. We had found a building in downtown Knoxville. It was Unity of Knoxville. So in downtown Knoxville, that was a beautiful building on the outside, but not a beautiful building on the inside. So that one didn't work out. We moved around to a couple of other locations. And then for, I want to say maybe, it feels like maybe close to a year, we had service at a middle school. And so the congregation met in the auditorium, and the youth picked a hallway, and we just hung out in the hallway and did our service. And so it was interesting. And so I think I want to say it maybe lasted about a year before we found a location, and that became the location, and Unity of Knoxville is there to this day, has been there since. So in that situation, the keepers of the light were the community members or the participants of Unity of Knoxville that kept it going, that traveled. We all traveled together until we could find our building. And they were there every Sunday, regardless of where we were at. They showed up in presence and financially. And if they had not been keepers of the light, we would have dissolved. And my beloved youth group would have no longer existed. Dang it. Oh. You said 3 to 5 minutes. That's right. So, truth be told, my household, my home life was not the best. And I found a second home in the Uniteens and in the YOU. Dang it. I know, but I still don't want to cry. So I was actually I have journal upon journal from growing up. I kept a lot of journals. And I was actually going to look for an entry that I remember reading a year or so ago, and it was really funny, and I was going to bring that to share. I couldn't find that particular entry. But as I was going through my journals, what I did find is pages of my life at that time and the chaos within the life. And interwoven within those pages were things that spoke to my light within, like talking to myself and saying, I'm here experiencing this on the surface, and this is really hard. And at the same time, I am a source of light. I am power. I am love. And the Holy Spirit, universe, divine, works in and through me in each and every moment. And so these are interwoven in the same journals where I'm experiencing a lot of pain. And so that is really special. So the first thing that I received as a recipient of Keepers of the Light is spiritual stability and a second home. The second way I received I was a recipient is through my youth group teacher, whose name is Jeannie Lane. Jeannie was and is still a keeper of the light. She still runs the youth group in Unity of Knoxville, and then she also tends the light on her land, Buckeye Farm. And when I was in Uniteens and YOU myself, my family was not in a financial situation to be able to get me to retreats. So Jeannie would invite me into her studio to color the landscape pictures that she drew. She had a landscaping business. So she would invite me into her studio, and I would color her landscape designs. And to this day, I'm not 100% sure that she even really needed that. But what I do know is I never missed a retreat. I was at every single retreat because in exchange, she would pay for my participation. So in this new season in my life, I have seen a lot of things come full circle. Unity specific, I am a keeper of the light because I do realize that maintaining any home, especially a spiritual home, takes a village of bright lights who are willing to do their part financially and otherwise, which brings me to stepping into the role for leading our youth, which I am so honored to do. And in fact, Megan and I are both headed to our first retreat in just a couple of weeks. Mm-hmm. So I hope that you will ignite change and illuminate the path forward with us as the keepers of the light in my life have. And Jeannie Lane especially, her generosity and belief in illuminating the path forward is something that has always stayed with me and definitely been an inspiration. So thank you.
Jessica, you are such a blessing. She grew up in Unity. She's raising her 2 boys here today, and she is stepping into the new role as director of the sponsor of our preteens and our teen program. So, Jessica, we want to thank you for that. It's a big Sunday. We're kicking off a lot of things. I want to invite our ushers to come forward, our prayer chaplain to come forward today as Michael Wackerly comes forward with the prayer box. That reminds us, band, would you come on up as well, that we are centered in prayer. Under this prayer tapestry, this wooden box is usually here. You can leave your prayer request, and we're going to be holding that. We also send it to Silent Unity. Michael is also available with some of our prayer chaplains to pray with you after service back in the youth room. And today, in celebration of Joe Wagner and in Chris and Team Habitat, there are cupcakes for everyone. Stop by in the back room. We've put them in the back room, the community room. Stop by and give them your appreciation and enjoy a cupcake before choir practice starts at 12:15. So our ushers are here. We're going to affirm our offering blessing together that says, divine love flowing through me blesses and multiplies all that I have, all that I give, all that I receive, and all that I am. I am now in perfect balance and flow with the universal tides of giving and receiving. Thank you, God, and so it is.
To be, if it's to be, oh, if it's to be, it's up to me. That's your part. Here we go. If it's to be, if it's to be, whoa, if it's to be, it's up to me. If I seek the truth, let me speak the truth. If I'm lost in doubt, let me believe. I know I can be that change I want to see. And if it's If I'm feeling hurt, let me forgive. I know I can be the change I want to see. And if it's to be, if it's to be, oh, if it's to be, it's up to me. If I dream of peace, let me be the peace. And when I start from a love, I am love. I know I can be that change I want to see. And if it's to be, if it's to be, oh, if it's to be, it's up to me. You know it's up to me. You know it's up to me. If it's to be, you know it's up to me. Thank you. Great singing.
Sue Riley, thank you for being here. We look forward to you being back. And meet her. She's got some CDs outside for sale, so I invite you to see Sue. Our Keepers of the Light table is set up. We have book groups. If you still want to sign up for a book group, we have plenty of time to do that. Our youth have come in. I think most of them have already joined their parents or guardians. So we're going to invite you all to stand as we close in song together that says, "Let there be peace on earth," and let it begin with God's love in our heart.
Peace that was meant to be, with God as
Enjoy. Have a cupcake and have a beautiful day.